All right, I'm back. It's Davin. This is another episode of the Free Your Voice, Free Your Life podcast. This is going to be a quickie. I am about to head out to Denver, where I'm bringing the reset to the Betcher Concert Hall, part of the Denver Center for the Performing Arts. If you're in or around Denver, or you know anyone who is, I hope you might come join or send them my way. That's the 24th, Saturday the 24th, Betcher Concert Hall as a part of the Denver Center for the Performing Arts. The Reset, my immersive sound healing experience. You can find tickets at theresetsoundexperience.com. And then on Friday night, the 23rd, I'm actually leading, co-leading a community circle singing gathering in Denver with a friend named Roy Willie, who is a fantastic leader and has built a beautiful community in the Denver Boulder area. You can find out more about that at davinyoungs.com. I also just wanted to report back to you that I did the reset in Charlotte. I guess it's been 2 weeks ago now. But I had such an amazing experience. Charlotte, North Carolina, met tons of new people. I hope you'll go to Instagram and check out at Davin Youngs, because I have a video there that really captures what the experience was. We were all, everyone was like lying down under this giant globe of the earth, and it's created by the artist Luke Jerem, and it's called Gaia. And I knew it was going to be cool. I think I probably even said on the last episode of the podcast that this is going to be really cool, but it exceeded my expectations. Like, it was definitely, I don't know, so powerful. This globe, this sphere of the earth, it is huge. And so they hung it in the theater, and then they built the theater out like a black box, so it's just like all even and flat. And yeah, you'll have to check it out. So go to Instagram at Davin Youngs, or you can go to youtube.com/Davin Youngs, and you can find a video of it there. But it was sweet. I'm feeling so lucky, y'all. I'm feeling so blessed and honored and privileged that this is my life, and I just am asking the universe to continue to point me more in this direction because it feels so good. It feels so good, and I'm grateful. I'm really, really grateful. What I wanted to bring to you today in this episode of the podcast is a fairly simple message, but I actually think it's pretty radical. Because I just observe that most of us have a difficult time behaving with this mindset. And so I want to offer it to you because it's also a concept that's come up in multiple conversations I've had recently, and I've just been thinking a lot about it. The simplest way I can start this off is to say to you that singing is an irrational thing to do. Singing is an irrational sport. Singing doesn't make sense. Singing is not something one does for good reason. And you might hear me say those things, and you might be able to offer me very quickly some responses that sound rational and sound reasonable. And I'm with you on all of that. I've done a lot of research on the science around singing. It's part of what I bring when I bring to corporate groups, talking to them about the value, the inherent value in singing, what it does to us on a hormonal level, what it does to us on a spiritual level, what it does to us around connecting as community. But if I were to ask you why you sing, if I were to ask you, why do you sing? You could give me a million different reasons. But I bet that at the core, the primary reason that you do it is just because you want to. Because it feels good. Because you like to do it. And I think at the heart of this is one of the reasons that I keep wanting to come back to singing as the lens through which we talk about all of these other greater psychological, emotional, spiritual issues. See, so much of your life is asking you to make decisions based on rationality, based on quote unquote reality, based on what feels true, based on what you quote unquote believe. And I think that that's great. I think that that's wonderful. I think that's how much of our world works and ticks, and that's how things get maintained. That's how we keep systems afloat, and that's the way in which we need to approach certain aspects of relationship, etc. But I have come to really value in my own life, irrationality. The magic of making choices, making decisions from a place that seem to not make sense. And I've grown to understand that singing is a really beautiful symbol of what it is to live like that. But let me tell you why I think that that's valuable, first and foremost, to begin with. Rationality is based in that which you already know. Rational decision-making is exclusively based in the data that you've gathered from previous experiences. And that's really normal and really natural. It's really smart. When you think about someone being irrational, you think of someone operating outside of the systems of reason, outside of the models that, like I said, keep our systems afloat, keep things working, keep the government going, keep law happening, keep bills getting paid, etc. And when you see some people making choices that seem to completely ignore that, one of the ways in which we might refer to their behavior is irrational, crazy, erratic, strange, weird. And I'm not advocating for you to live a life that's erratic. But I might be advocating for you to live a life that's strange and weird and maybe even irrational if you can buy into the direction in which I'm heading. But rational decision making is always about maintaining that which already is. It's never about new ideas. Rationality, reason, is never about new creation. And so while that thinking certainly serves you in the maintaining aspects of your life, certainly serves you in, like I said, getting your bills paid or keeping your house clean or showing up to work, it doesn't serve you in terms of making real change. It doesn't serve you in terms of shifting the norms of your life. It doesn't serve you in terms of disrupting and really landing in something that feels new and different. Have you ever heard that science, that reality to the evolution of our brains, to the development of our actual physical brains and the prefrontal cortex, and how it's something like in your mid-20s that real rationality of thinking actually kicks in? But prior to that, you know that you see young people, teenagers, kids make choices that you're like, what the hell? Why did you think that's a good idea? And often when we see adults behaving similarly, one of the things that we will label them as is immature, crazy, irrational, erratic. Now, this is paradoxical because one of the things that I notice in my work is that when people come back to something like, let's say, pursuing singing, pursuing creativity, pursuing art, making choices that feel more aligned with their inner truth, their inner being, their inner self, one of the things in which they're trying to do is reclaim the freedom that they felt in childhood, the freedom they felt as a young person to make choices that weren't so limited in scope. And so I think that we all can relate to this. We recall a time in youth when we just felt more free. We felt like we weren't as hindered by what people might think of us, or we weren't so controlled by, what our job required of us or what the family expected of us. We were willing to make choices and decisions that felt a little bit edgy, a little bit wild, a little bit more free. But then somehow as we get older and the requirements of our lives seem to have a more governing force, we find ourselves feeling disconnected from the elements of freedom in our past. We find ourselves feeling more limited in our scope of what's possible for us. And often, if you bump up against enough frustration about your life heading down that path, you'll return to the things that you found in your youth to be liberating, to be freeing. And often the most obvious in that realm are things like singing and dance and music and creativity and drawing and art and play and sports, right? All of those things that adults seem to want to find their way back to. And so we have to hold this duality, this paradoxical truth that as we get older, there are more obligations. There are more things that we are responsible for. There are sometimes people, young people that we're responsible for, children. There are houses that we own. There are cars that we own. There's rent we have to pay. There are businesses that we run. And all of that requires the executive function, the prefrontal cortex, the rational thinking. But we have this deep, deep desire to, at the same time, simultaneously feel more free, to feel more able to make choices that are spontaneous, to feel less confined by the seeming constraints of our lives. And so I want to urge you and to help you consider this possibility that maybe not all of your decision making, maybe not all of the choices that you make have to come through the lens of rationality. In fact, maybe something like singing is a great reminder of what it's like to do something that's a little weird, a little strange, a little bit crazy, that doesn't make sense. You know, there is a lot of great science and research around singing. There's a lot that tells us that when people sing, they experience increased levels of dopamine, that hormone that we get hits from when we're on our phone, the thing that makes us feel good, or oxytocin, that hormone that gets emitted when we feel in closeness to others. We feel more in relationship with others. It's called the cuddle hormone. Or one of my favorites is increased levels of adrenaline, which adrenaline is that thing that shows up when you feel nervous, when you feel scared, when you feel overwhelmed, but it's also the thing that shows up that helps you accomplish something that maybe you didn't believe you could accomplish before. We know that when people sing, they experience decreased levels of cortisol, which is the stress hormone. We know fun facts that like when people sing together, their heartbeats tend to synchronize. Crazy, wild, right? And all of that, it's super rational. It's science. It's real. It's measurable. It's quantifiable. But what it points toward is that singing makes us feel good. That's really all the evidence says. When you sing, you feel better. And when you sing with others, you feel even better. And when you sing with others, you feel deeply connected to them. And this is part of the natural human desire, is to feel, the desire to feel better, the desire to feel good, to engage in activities that make us feel good. But if I have to tell you, if I have to explain to you that every time I sing, it's because I need to get my dopamine levels up, that kind of sounds stupid, doesn't it? Or I need to sing because I want to decrease levels of cortisol. Okay, great. But doesn't that sort of sterilize the magic, the mystery of it all? No, I sing because I want to sing. I sing because it feels good to sing. I sing because I love to sing. I sing because it's inexplainable. I can't tell you why. I sing because it's just what I do. It's just who I am. I create, I make art, I pursue creativity because there's something in me that compels me to do that, something beyond my rational mind. I spend money on myself in this way, not because it makes sense financially, not even because it yields me a profit, but because I have to do it, because I feel compelled to do it. It makes me feel good to do it. I want to do it. And I think that this is a tremendous model for how you can live more of your life. I think that this reasoning is underappreciated based on a world that champions rationality. I think that it is possible to live a life that is highly guided by the phrase, because it feels good, because I like it, because I want to do it, because it somehow resonates with something deeper in me, because it says something about who I am. The rational choices that you make, they also say something about who you are. But are those the things that you want to be who you are? Do you want to be someone that's limited in scope? Do you want to be someone that isn't brave in the choices that they make? Do you want to be someone who's always wished for something but never had the courage to step into it? Do you want to be a model for your children? Do you want to be a model for a younger generation as someone who made, quote unquote, rational choices? Or do you want to be someone that took risks, that was bold, that stepped into the unknown, not because they knew why, but because it was just the right next thing to do? They knew they had to do it. You knew you had to do it. And people say, why are you doing that? And just like they say, why would you sing? Because it feels good. Because I have to do it. I think that this is the most brave, radical, exciting way to be living. And it flies in the face of how much we have to live so much of the rest of our lives. You inevitably, as you hear me say this, you're going to have a million reasons why I don't understand why you can't live like this. I don't know what your job is like. I don't know what your family is like. You're probably thinking, I don't know what your financial situation is like. Well, Davin must be lucky. Davin must be fortunate that he's able to make choices like that. That's not how I can live. All right. Do you want to be someone that commits to that narrative too? Because let me tell you, my friend, there are certain privileges I have that I absolutely acknowledge. And there are certain choices that I have made along the way that have not, let's say, obligated me in the same way that some others. And my choices are not better or worse. Yours are not right or wrong. But what I will tell you from personal experience is that I continue to lean into a life that seeks more and more freedom. I continue to lean into a life that cherishes irrational choices because they're the ones that make me the happiest. They're the ones that feel the best. They're the ones that point me toward gratitude. I'm so glad I did that. I can't believe I did that, but I'm so glad I did. Because when I did that, it pointed to this. And when I did that, it pointed to this. And when I did that, it pointed to this. Remember, rationality maintains. Irrationality creates new. Now, sometimes that's a big old flop. It's a big old failure. It didn't work. What the hell was I thinking? I lost some money. I really messed up that relationship. Ooh, I learned a lot there. But let me tell you, when you're doing that from a space of deep alignment, when you're doing that from a space of really pursuing your inner knowing, your inner being, that which is feeling good, when you pursue that, even the biggest flops, they feel so necessary. Sure, they might feel disappointing, but you see where they fit into the grand scheme of your life. They make sense. They somehow make sense amidst all of your irrational choices. See, whenever you make the right choice, whenever you make the choice that is true, that resembles the inner you, it's always the next thing you have to do. I have to sing. I have to perform. I have to try to get this job. I have to leave this job. I have to leave this relationship. I have to ask this person out on a date. I have to finally pursue my health and my body. I have to give up the perfectionism that has inhibited my choices from the past. That's what you have to do. And I know that you know those things right now. But I know that you, like me, tend to avoid that knowing because it feels inconvenient. It doesn't make sense. It never has made sense. Why do I feel called to do this? Why? The people that work with me and that I really admire the most are the ones that come to me and say, I don't know why I have to do this. I just feel like I do. I love that shit. I love it. I love it. That's the most exciting thing that you can say to me because there's a certain level of trust and surrender that goes into that. And with that trust and surrender, you can almost guarantee that the person will approach the endeavor with a open heart, which will then give them the capacity to have so much more grace on the journey, and it'll actually make the journey of change much more efficient. But when someone comes to me and they said, I have to do this because I have this to accomplish by this amount of time, it's a big, big red flag for me, because I find that those people are often so disappointed with the inevitable outcome, which will be slower than they want it to be, which won't take place in the way, shape, or form that they exactly imagined. The irrational choices open you up to the craziest possibilities that you couldn't imagine. See, you dream too small, my friend. You dream too small. Go bigger. Go bigger. But you have to step out of what you know, or what you think you know, or what you think you believe, in order to find and discover these new places and spaces. I was just having a conversation with someone today, and this person, and I said this to their face because we were talking about something else, but they listed for me a laundry list of what they considered to be truths about themselves. Well, I'm old, I operate like this, yada, yada, yada. And while I totally respect that that comes from a place of intended self-knowing, it actually sounds, let me put this, how do I say this? It sounds cynical. It sounds a little lazy. And we all do it. I do it too. But if you start to do this laundry list of who you are, and the laundry list is based on limitations about you, good luck stepping into the next season of change. What's more sexy, what's more interesting is tell me about the things that you don't know. Tell me about the things that you're curious about with yourself. Tell me about the things that you've always dreamed of doing but have never had the opportunity to do. Tell me about the desires for your future that feel absolutely insane, but it's always kind of been in the back of your mind. Tell me about that. Because as soon as you name that, as soon as you use your voice, as soon as you speak that into existence, you know what happens? It happens. It happens. The ball gets rolling, the momentum gets going, and as long as you don't slow it down, that crazy thing, the thing that doesn't make any sense, the thing that doesn't make any financial sense, that doesn't make any sense with time, that doesn't make any sense in terms of your work or your relationships, I promise you it happens. It will happen. It will happen. But you have to be willing to let go of the old egoic ideas you have of yourself. I'm someone that sounds like this. I'm someone that does this. I'm someone. Are you? Are you? Because I've met a lot of people through my life that have had those same kind of lists. And through the way that life works, their worlds have been rocked, and they've realized that there was always so much more. There was always so much more. And then time becomes precious. Now I know. Now I realize. Let's go. What if you didn't wait for something dramatic to rock your world? What if right now, this podcast in this moment, you just simply committed to opening yourself up to what feels crazy, what feels weird, what feels bizarre? And what if every time you heard that voice in your head that says there's not enough time, there's not enough money, people will think I look crazy, people will not expect this from me, so I shouldn't do it, this is going to shock the world. What if every time you heard those voices, you said, yeah, yes, absolutely. Yes, and what if when you heard those voices, you were like, that's actually the kind of person I want to be. The one that steps into the unknown, the one where it doesn't make sense, but I still lean in. And what if in doing so, you get really quiet and you listen to yourself and you go, I trust, I surrender. Let's go. Let's do this. Let's be a little crazy. Anyone whom you admire that's doing something interesting, wild, exciting, strange, kooky, big, bold, they've had this moment. They've had this moment. They've had this moment where they had to reckon with who they were, who they thought they were, versus who they are and who they want to be. And I, for one, don't want to be someone that you thought, well, Davin made really practical choices with his life. Boring! so boring. I want you to be observing me going, man, that guy will pivot. He will change. He will shift. He will move. He will go unexpected places. That's who I want to be. That's how I want to be. And if you want that, I want that for you too, because I got to tell you, it feels good. That's the only reason to do it. It feels good. It feels good. It feels good. Why do you sing? Because it feels good. Why do you perform? Because I want to. Why do you live life like this? Because it feels good. It feels aligned. It feels true. It feels authentic. It feels real. It doesn't make any sense, and I'm okay with that. It's just who I am. It's what I'm stepping into. I don't know. It doesn't make sense, but I just do it. I do it because it feels good. Because it feels good. Because it feels good. That's why I do it. And you know what? I love to feel good. Why wouldn't I pursue that? Why would I keep myself so small? Why wouldn't I step into the abundance of what the universe has to offer me? Why wouldn't I sing? All right, my friends, sending you lots of love. Stay connected with me. Find me on Instagram at Davin Youngs. Head on over to davinyoungs.com or the resetsoundexperience.com or voxusexperience.com. And yeah, I love you. I appreciate you. Next time.